Hi folks, welcome back to another Irrigator video. Today we will review the basics of soil moisture sensors for residential and light commercial locations. Mainly, what are soil moisture sensors? I'll show you some brands and models. We will see how soil moisture sensors work when added to an automatic irrigation system. And finally, I'll show you some of the new tendencies in soil moisture sensing technology. So, what are soil moisture sensors? They are devices that if the soil is wet enough to keep good plant growth and quality, they will not allow irrigation. Smart, huh? That's why soil moisture sensors are part of what the irrigation industry calls smart irrigation controllers. There are several brands and models of soil moisture sensors in the market right now. For example, at the University of Florida, we have tested the Rainbird, the Baseline, Hunter, and the Wireless Toro. And there are some new promising ones that I'll show you at the end. These soil moisture sensors differ in the technology that they use to sense the soil moisture. But, as you may have noticed, all of them have in common two components, a probe and an interface. The probe is inserted in the soil, and the interface is connected to the irrigation controller or timer. The probe senses how dry or how wet the soil is. For example, in this picture, the volumetric water content is 10.8%. And with this info, the interface will allow irrigation if the soil is dry or bypass an irrigation cycle if the soil is wet. But how do they do that? First, let's review the basic setting of an automatic irrigation system, where a timer controls the irrigation. Each irrigation zone has a specific solenoid valve. The timer is connected to each solenoid valve through a hot wire, and all the solenoid valves are connected together through the common wire. So, when it's time to start a scheduled irrigation cycle, the timer sends a signal to the first valve through these two wires. Then the valve is opened and the water flows to the specific zone. However, because it is already programmed in the timer, this irrigation cycle will occur even if the soil is saturated with water, for example, after a recent large rainfall. So, to overcome this, a soil moisture sensor can be added to the irrigation system. The hot wire remains the same, while the common wire between the timer and the valve now runs through the soil moisture sensor interface. And again, the probe will be inserted in the root zone of the turf grass. In the interface, a soil water content threshold will be set. In general, this threshold will be automatically set during installation, following the manufacturer's instructions. Let's see an example when it's been hot and dry and the soil needs irrigation. And let's say that our soil water content now is 7%, which is below the set point of 12%. Then, when the timer sends a signal to the valve, the signal will travel through the wires, will reach the valve, and the water will flow to the zone. But what happens when the soil is wet enough? It's been raining, it's humid, and let's say that in this moment our soil water content is 13%, which would be above the set point of 12% of soil water content. In this situation, when the timer sends a signal to the valve, the signal travels and reaches the interface of the soil moisture sensor, but the signal cannot go forward because the common wire is broken. In this case, the water would not flow, and therefore, while the soil moisture content is above the set threshold, irrigation will not occur, conserving all the water that would have been unnecessarily applied. Now, will these configurations remain the same in the future? The principles may remain the same, but the soil moisture sensor industry is evolving fast with new products and new technologies. These are some of the brands and models that we have tested already at the University of Florida. And this is how some of the new models look like. They're basically wireless and app-based. The Sprinkle model, for example, has its own irrigation controller, which is that green box that you see there, and you can control everything through your phone or computer. While the Spio doesn't have an irrigation controller, but has an app that can communicate to irrigation controllers that are web-based. New soil moisture sensors are also tending to multi-sensing technology. For example, new models sense not just the soil water content, but also the soil temperature and the soil salinity. And they store the data in the cloud, so you can review this anytime afterward. Also, the price of the units has dropped substantially over the past decade. Common prices for some new systems are just 10% of the value of 10 years ago. However, we haven't tested them yet at UF, so we cannot recommend any of these for now. Alright, I hope you learned something today. Don't miss our series of soil moisture sensor videos when we answer other questions like how many sensors are needed for a residence? Which is the best location where the probe should be buried? How to install the probe and connect the interface? How is the soil water content threshold set? How long should the irrigation run when a soil moisture sensor is connected? Oof, so many questions remaining. Okay, I'll see you in the next irrigator video. See you soon. Bye-bye.